Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dalton, Illinois, is struggling to silence growing calls for an investigation into how she spends public money. Henyard vetoed a measure calling for an outside investigation into her alleged misuse of public funds.
Calling for an investigation of Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
This after the village board late last month called for the FBI, the U.S. Attorney, and the Cook County Sheriff to investigate the village's finances.
Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of a small town near Chicago called Dalton, has vetoed a measure passed by the Board of Trustees that would open an investigation into her handling of public funds. Despite the town's trustees getting slapped down by Henyard yet again, federal and state investigators luckily remain undeterred. The U.S. Attorney, Cook County Sheriff, and Cook County State's Attorney also support the investigation. The FBI has begun interviewing dozens of people related to the investigation into Henyard despite her veto. Not a great sign for the town, which actually enjoyed a budget surplus when Henyard was elected back in 2021, but is now in financial peril. So the mayor blamed the town's financial struggles on the Board of Trustees, which she claimed is incompetent and uneducated about municipal government. Henyard has admitted the town has a $2 million deficit, but some people believe the real number could be as high as $5 million. Other local politicians allege that the town is staring down as much as $7 million in debt. It's just that we don't know exactly how much debt we're talking about here because Henyard has closed off access to the town's financial records. The Board of Trustees can't access it. Residents are fed up, and so is the Board of Trustees.
Kiana Belcher is one trustee calling for that investigation.
What is it that you all say she's spending public money on?
We have not received a financial report since September of 2023.
She alleges that last year, the mayor racked up $1 million in police overtime for her own personal detail.
A weekend, possibly $27,000 to $30,000.
$27,000 to $30,000 for a weekend.
For the weekend, yes. Last March, when we still were receiving copies of the card.
She also says the mayor spent $1.3 million.
We have love on ice today.
Building this ice rink.
Nobody can go over there unless she's having an event.
A lot of mainstream media don't give you honest news. We do. You know why? Because of you. Paid membership on YouTube makes all the difference. Hit the join button below and you become the hero that sustains us.
She said that ice skating rink was for the community, but only uses it for her events. It's closed off to the public unless she's having an event. Anyway, that's just the beginning. There's so much scandal with Henyard that it's impossible to keep up. For example, Henyard's charity, Tiffany Henyard Cares, has already been closed down after she allegedly used taxpayer money and government employees to run it. And when it comes to using the town's resources on travel, let's just say she's not staying at Howard Johnson, which to be fair, no one should. But get a load of this. Henyard and other town officials have spent more than $67,000 of public money on trips to major cities such as Atlanta, Austin, New York City, and Portland. Some of the trips included first-class travel, and one trip to New York cost $13,000 in taxpayer money. Keep in mind that as the mayor of Dalton and the supervisor of Thornton Township, Henyard collects an annual salary close to $300,000 a year. That's more than what a federal lawmaker makes. Okay, it's definitely more than what normal people make. And look, these are people who, like we're talking about a person who's making $300,000, and on top of that is using public resources on herself, on hair and makeup before she appears before the public, on travel, on her own personal police detail that follows her around 24/7, meaning that these officers are basically clocking in a ton of overtime. And as I shared with you a few weeks ago, Henyard is also allegedly failing to pay vendors contracted with the town.
Vendors contracted by the village say they're not getting paid.
The banners or the billboards with her face on them, is that person not getting paid?
No, the person is not getting paid. It was 122 banners for $19,900 some dollars.
NBC News has reached out to Mayor Henyard, who, according to NBC Chicago, also works as township supervisor for a neighboring community, making a total salary of close to $300,000 a year.
One of the bills Henyard allegedly failed to pay was a $75,000 payment for the town's police vehicles, which led to threats that the vehicles would soon be impounded. At the same time, she's signing new contracts while dozens of previous vendors remain uncompensated for their work. Henyard's alleged abuse of political power and corruption is also complicating a ballot measure in Thornton Township that would raise property taxes in order to fund mental health programs in the area. Fox 32 Chicago reports that the referendum, set to appear on next week's primary ballot, seeks taxpayer approval for a 0.15% property tax increase designated for mental health services within the township. But a coalition of 11 out of the 17 South suburban mayors have come together to discourage constituents from supporting the referendum because it would allocate nearly $3 million in additional funding to Thornton Township and its supervisor, Tiffany Henyard. The mayors say that aside from allegations that Henyard is currently misusing public funds on herself, she has also failed to provide clear details on how additional funds from the ballot measure would be utilized. To be fair, I'd be worried about increasing taxes on constituents only to have those additional resources abused by a seemingly corrupt politician like Henyard. Obviously, everything we've learned about Henyard so far has been troubling, to say the least. But believe it or not, it gets even worse. The Department of Human Rights is now investigating her office over allegations of sexual harassment and retaliation. NBC Chicago obtained copies of complaints accusing Henyard and an unnamed Dalton trustee of sexual harassment, retaliation, and discrimination. The allegations center around a trip to Las Vegas last May for an economic development conference. That was where a former assistant says that she was the victim of a sexual assault carried out by the unnamed Dalton trustee. According to the complaint, she started to feel disoriented after having dinner with the trustee before blacking out. After waking up the next morning, she woke up in the trustee's hotel room with no memory of how she got there while experiencing physical discomfort. Officer Byron Miles, who was part of Henyard's security detail at the time, also filed a complaint with the Human Rights Department. Miles said in his complaint that the trustee called him on his phone and told him he had unprotected sex with the woman. Miles said he recorded some of their conversation in his complaint. Now, when the former employee spoke to Henyard about the alleged assault they had suffered while in Las Vegas, the mayor allegedly told her that she would take care of it and to trust her. According to the complaints, though, the woman said when she told Henyard about the incident, Henyard said that if the information were to be made public, she would be ruined, that all the work she'd done would be lost. Days later, the former employee said she was placed on unpaid medical leave without her consent and was later terminated. The village of Dalton denies the allegations and says that they've conducted a thorough investigation through an independent third party. As for Officer Miles, the Dalton statement also said that Officer Miles was interviewed and denied knowing anything about the allegations, and the alleged victim refused to cooperate with our investigation. This is nothing more than two disgruntled employees trying to make off with the taxpayers' hard-earned dollars. Well, that's rich. The village looks forward to defending these allegations and pursuing all other available remedies to the village, the statement said. Right. Look, it's impossible, if not stupid, to believe anything that comes out of Henyard's mouth at this point. And there have been allegations that she likes to retaliate against anyone who crosses her, including small business owners who refuse to donate to her campaign. Suddenly, it's impossible for them to renew their business licenses. Others were met with more extreme actions. A team of Dalton officers headed by Deputy Police Chief Louis Lacey raided and shut down Pablo's Bar and Cafe and Rinky's Bar and Cafe, both located on Sibley, about a block apart. Employees and owners say it's part of an ongoing campaign of harassment by Henyard that is costing jobs and money. Their business licenses have been stripped by Dalton, but they've continued to operate with a state license. Henyard is also the woman collecting a $224,000 salary just for her role as mayor of Dalton. Remember, she has two roles, mayor of Dalton, and then she's a supervisor for the township. But in an effort to deter anyone even considering running against her, she tried passing a new rule where the next mayor's pay would drop down to just $25,000. This is why all of these allegations absolutely must be reviewed and investigated by the federal government. Luckily, some of those small business owners say that they've already spoken to the FBI. You just can't take anything at face value from a woman who won't even give local politicians access to financial records. Seems like she's, hiding something. And it's likely because she has a lot to hide. So can't wait to see how this all plays out. She's apparently coming out with a podcast this week. I'm really looking forward to hearing that. So we'll see.